What's up? Welcome to the show. I'm Grant Cohn. That's my good friend Tony Farmer, writes for On SI. I was planning to be flying to Indianapolis, and I will eventually, but I'm stuck in San Diego for now. It's a hell of a town. I don't really actually get to go into it. I'm in Terminal 1. I had a breakfast burrito, and it was delicious, Tony. Like, I'm not a California burrito guy, but a breakfast burrito is a whole different thing. It had some
Mm.
chorizo. It had no uh, potatoes at all. I thought it was just a delicious burrito. So I'm feeling great. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. And I like your food reviews, by the way. I know you don't do too many of them, but when I see on my Twitter feed a Grant Cohn pizza review or something like that, you're in a different city trying something new, it gets my attention. And I like hearing your thoughts, man.
Well, thank you very much. I had an idea yesterday. I had an incredible brisket sandwich yesterday, and I was thinking maybe it might be worthwhile to show like what the Bay Area has to offer when it comes to Texas style barbecue, because we're not exactly
Yeah.
known for it, but there's some hidden gems.
And I'm in Austin, Texas right now. You know what I had for the very first time in my life a couple days ago? Smoked meatballs from a barbecue
What are those?
place. It was just a meatball that's been cooked through the smoking process. You like how they smoke meats? So it was
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
smoked meatball sandwich, and it was delicious. First time in my life.
Sounds delicious. All right,
Yeah,
so
what?
here's the topic for today: the vision for 2026. We should actually get some insight into that on Tuesday when John Lynch talks to the media. That's provisional, preliminary. It's not official yet, but he's supposed to talk on Tuesday. He'll explain why they hired Raheem Morris, if he's going to run the wide nine, what the top needs are, what they're going to do about the substation. All those things I would imagine he's going to address at some point in the next 2 days. So let's preview it. Let's try to anticipate what the Niners are planning this offseason, because last offseason was underwhelming. I mean, what they wanted to do was slash prices, get rid of veterans, add a bunch of young guys, lower expectations, and then they exceeded their own low expectations and gave themselves uh, an ice cream party. What are they? Are they actually going to spend cap space this offseason? I think they have to after winning 12 games with that pared down budget. So let's talk about what they actually need to accomplish. I think job one starts with the offensive line. I mean, I don't know if they have to do it first, but the idea of going into last year with Ben Barch at left guard is kind of hilarious in hindsight, in a
Yeah.
sad way. And I really think they got to make sure they have a good player at left guard, not some cheapo starter. How confident are you that the Niners are going to add a good starter to this line?
I want it to happen. I'm not super confident though, Grant. I think Kyle has a way of sort of under prioritizing, especially the interior linemen. We saw two Super Bowls where Chris Jones took over that game. The second Super Bowl in Vegas, which I was at, you had a missed blocking assignment by a backup right guard that basically you could argue cost them the game in overtime. People say, oh, the Chiefs will get the ball back, et cetera. But bottom line is they've been bitten several times by not fortifying the interior of the offensive line. And I just feel like if I had to bet, that pattern's probably going to continue. Kyle's going to be stubborn and think that he can out scheme offensive line issues. But we're talking about the offensive line. We didn't even mention Trent Williams yet. I mean, how many years does he have left? I put out a quick little question on my Twitter at Tony's Market Tips. I'm like, hey, how many years do you think Trent Williams has left? Some people are saying 2 years, 3 years. You got to start planning at some point. You don't want to be forced to draft a left tackle in the first round because your guy is retiring. You want to be able to maybe have him play a right tackle, for instance, and slide into that left tackle position. You don't want to be desperate needing a left tackle. So plan ahead.
Well, I'm looking at Trent Williams' contract, and it seems to me, according to overthecap.com, that this is his last year under contract. He's 38 years old. 2027, his contract void, so he'll still be on the Niners salary cap. But he won't be on the team unless they extend him. And frankly, I don't think they should extend him. Not that he's not good anymore, but he's 38 years old and he's really, really expensive. His cap number is almost 39 million this year. That's, I mean, not that many quarterbacks make that much money. And he misses a few games every year, and he's not a quarterback. He can't, I don't think he can be, I don't think he should be your best offensive lineman. If he's your best offensive lineman, you don't have a good offensive line. And I think the reason the Niners are so cheap at every other position is because they're paying him so much money. And I think they told themselves, all right, we can justify giving Trent Williams, Patrick Mahomes money, or Sam Darnold money, if we have the cheapest center, the cheapest right tackle, the cheapest left guard. That's not good enough anymore. What did
Yeah.
Kyle say? The reason they can't score against Seattle? Well, we can't run the ball. Well, why can't you run the ball? You're not going to replace your running back. You freaking love Christian McCaffrey. It
Yeah. Yeah.
gotta left guard.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, man. I would love to see them do that. Does it happen in the draft? Does it happen in free agency? I haven't taken a good look at who the available free agents are, but it goes back to your question: is are they going to spend? They were kind of cheapskates last offseason.
Yeah.
And it's funny, Grant, because like you alluded to, look at how far they got. They got that close to getting the number 1 seed. And I suppose you could make an argument. It feels like a little stretch, but you could
Mhm.
make an argument that things might have gone differently if the 49ers got the number 1 seed. So what if they had spent last offseason, Grant?
Mhm.
What if they weren't cheapskates last offseason and
What if
fortified
they had
their
traded
roster?
what if they had traded for Rashid Shaheed instead of the Seahawks trading for Rashid Shaheed?
Wow, I didn't even think about that. That's a
Right? Because
great,
he essentially
great
beat the
question.
Niners with that opening kickoff return. I mean, he
Yeah.
was a real difference maker for them this year.
Yeah, good point. Or anybody, or traded for anybody of significant value that could have,
Yeah.
helped them down the stretch, like we've seen them do in prior years. But
Yeah.
yeah, are the 49ers going to spend this season? It's going to be a fascinating question for sure. If they
And what
do, I want it to be done in the trenches on both sides of the ball, man. That's where they need the most help.
that's what the Bears did last year. I mean, Ben Johnson, he takes over, and the first thing he does is sign not Chris Dahlman, Drew Dahlman, Chris Dahlman's son, and Joe Tooney. I mean,
Yep.
bang! All of a sudden, you go from a bad offensive line to a really good offensive line, and they draft weapons.
Yep.
And what's tough about that is it takes a real financial commitment because bad starting offensive linemen generally get $15 million a year. Spencer Burford is going to get $15 million a year from someone, and he's not good enough. Mediocre, middling offense. I mean, like average ones, $20 million a year. To average to
Yeah.
good. So you have to really want to invest in it. If the Niners say, well, we can't because we're paying so much to our 38-year-old left tackle, well, that's too bad. And his contract and Nick Bosa's contract this year are crippling. It's not really about Brock Purdy's contract yet. His contract is fine. It's
Yeah.
those two guys. They have to play all the games and be Hall of Famers.
Yeah, I like you bringing up the Bears comparison. There was a third big offensive lineman they added to, and his name's escaping me right now. But I think one difference.
And let's not
with
forget the Seahawks. They spent their first round pick on Gray's Abel, a left guard the Niners could have taken.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point.
Yep.
But I think a difference between the Bears last year and the Niners this year is the Bears on offense, besides their offensive line at the time before they decided to invest, didn't have many other holes. Like they had a Dunze, Moore at wide receiver. They felt good about their quarterback. They had the running backs. And it was like, this is the only thing we're missing is a good offensive line. So I think they felt confident putting a ton of resources into it. The Niners have questions at wide receiver now, especially if Juwan Jennings walks out that door. So it's like, where do you've only got so much money. You've only got so much cap space. You've only got so much energy that you can put into fixing this offense. Do you put half of that energy into the offensive line and half into the wide receiver core? Do you ignore the offensive line again and put it all into the receiver core? Man, I look back. I don't know if you saw this tweet or not, Grant, but I looked back at the wide receivers that Alex Smith had his first couple years with the 49ers. You have that debate. What's more important, having a young quarterback who's protected or giving them weapons? Man, when I saw the weapons that Alex Smith didn't have, it was mind-blowing. The best wide receiver that he had in his first 4 years was Brandon Lloyd, and he only had 9 years with him. You know who the next best wide receiver that Alex Smith had in his first 4 years in the league? Arnaz Battle.
I loved Arnaz Battle. Yeah, he was
good. The best wide receiver the 49ers had in his first 4 years in the league. And so I'm getting a little off topic here, but like, where do you want to invest, in the weapons or in the offensive line? Because the Niners are continually...
Kyle.
Yeah.
But we know Kyle. He's going to invest in the weapons. And to me, it's like, that's fine. But like, did we learn anything from the Seahawks? Their weapons, they had the best wide receiver. They had a very good running back and a solid tight end, a solid number 2 wide receiver. Cooper freaking Kupp, late career Cooper. I think what we learned about what made them special was trenches. What made the Eagles special 2 years ago was the trenches. So, yeah, they obviously have to add a wide receiver. We're going to talk about that next. But improving the offensive line helps Christian McCaffrey, and it helps Brock Purdy. Can you imagine how much better Brock Purdy would be if the offensive line were legit top 10 in the league as opposed to arguably top 20?
Yeah, and Grant, I agree with everything you said there. I want to add another reason why I think they should prioritize the offensive line. I don't think they will. Have you noticed that at the trade deadline every year, there seems to be a wide receiver or two that's available? We got Emmanuel Sanders a
Yep.
couple years ago for that first Super Bowl run.
Yep.
You brought up Rashid Shaheed. There's
Yeah.
always seems to be a weapon available. When's the last time you saw a premier right tackle or left guard available at the trade deadline? That's much more
It doesn't
rare.
happen.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
so fortify what you can in free agency on the offensive line. And if you go into the season a little weak at the wide receiver position, maybe you get one before the trade deadline. I think that just makes more sense logically to me.
It seems to me too, like when you feel you have a great quarterback, it's more important to give him a line than weapons because you feel like, man, if we just keep him upright, give him time, keep him healthy, he can elevate other players. But if he's running around for his life, if he's on his back, there's nothing he can do.
Yeah.
I'm surprised the Niners haven't done that unless they don't think that Brock Purdy's worth the money they're giving him. I would just imagine that like his two issues when he's healthy and the team is healthy, he can look like an MVP candidate, but he misses too many games and he throws a lot of picks. You would figure like improving the offensive line and giving him more time and clear sight lines would address both of those issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do
And
it.
yeah, yeah. And there's another elephant in the room we haven't talked about here, Grant. The 49ers are terrible at either developing young wide receivers or scouting the talent in the draft for young wide receivers. Because how many times have we gotten excited as 49er fans, myself, about them drafting a receiver, whether it's Jalen Hurd, Dante. They trade up for Dante Pettis, I do believe.
They traded up for
Dante
Dante.
Pettis, and the list goes on and on and on. Early round picks, late round picks. Two exceptions to that would be Ayuk and Debo Samuel, but I don't want to give them
Right.
too much credit for those because those were
Juwan.
earlier. Yeah, Juwan is a great.
Those are the
Got to
three.
give them all the
and I
credit
feel like
for that.
for a minute,
Yeah.
the Niners had kind of like convinced themselves, like, hey, like say what you want about Kyle Shanahan as a personnel guy. He knows his wide receivers because he played the position. And forget
anymore.
Dante Pettis. But no, I mean,
Yep.
Jacob Cowing, Jordan Watkins, Danny Gray. And I think the most troubling one would be Ricky Pearsall. Not because he isn't good, but because they took him in round one. And no other team would have taken Ricky Pearsall in round one. But Kyle said he reminds me of me. Literally said that. I mean, like he stuck his neck out there for him. And so far, he's looking like a guy who should have been taken around 2 or 3. So maybe the Niners are like, we can't just let Kyle Shanahan pick whoever.